I'm being blamed for my ex-best friend attempting to take her own life, even though she's the one who hooked up with my boyfriend and threw away our 16 years of friendship. I never imagined a day like this would come. A day when my heart, once full of memories and joy, would be broken beyond repair, not only by betrayal, but by something far worse. I'm sitting here now, tears in my eyes, trying to gather my thoughts for this story, and I can hardly believe it's my life we're talking about. I should have known when the signs started showing up, small things at first, like the way she'd laugh a little too long at my boyfriend's jokes, or how she'd always be around when he wasn't. But I chose to ignore it. It was just her, being the life of the party as always, and me? I thought I was secure. I was wrong. It all started when I met Kendra. 16 years. 16 years of friendship. We were inseparable. From high school, through college, to adulthood. We did everything together. The highs, the lows, all of it. She knew me better than anyone. So when I introduced her to my boyfriend, David, I thought nothing of it. That was my first mistake. The night it all fell apart. The night I found out. My whole world turned upside down. It was a Friday evening, just like any other. David had been acting strangely all week, distant and moody. But Kendra was the same. I didn't think much of it. That night I invited them both to meet up for dinner, excited to spend some time together. I walked into the restaurant to find David's face flushed, and Kendra, she had this odd look in her eyes. Something was off. It wasn't until after dinner, when I went to the restroom, that it hit me like a freight train. I walked back into the room, expecting them to be talking, laughing as usual, but instead, I caught them, David and Kendra, locked in an intimate, too-close-for-comfort embrace. My heart stopped. Time slowed. I could hear my pulse in my ears. The woman who I had called my best friend, the person who knew every secret, every scar, had crossed the line. And David? He was the man I loved. For a moment I stood there, paralyzed. I wanted to scream, but my throat was tight with disbelief. Then, just as quickly as the shock had frozen me, it turned into rage. Kendra saw me first. Her eyes went wide with panic. David looked like a deer in headlights, and I just couldn't breathe. No, this can't be real, I whispered. Tell me this is some sick joke. Kendra, please tell me this isn't real. But she didn't. She didn't say a word. David finally spoke. His voice was shaky. It wasn't like that, I swear. Before he could finish, I slammed the door behind me and ran out into the cold night. Tears were blurring my vision, and every step I took felt heavier than the last. The days that followed were the darkest I've ever known. Kendra tried to reach out, to explain, but I couldn't even look at her. David, on the other hand, begged for forgiveness, as though his pleas could erase the betrayal. But I wasn't the same person anymore. Trust? Gone. The foundation of my world had shattered, and there was no piecing it together. Then, a week after the breakup, everything escalated. I was in my apartment, going through the motions of surviving, when my phone rang. It was Kendra's mother. Her voice was frantic. Kendra? Have you returned home? Kendra's in the hospital. She's tried to take her own life, and she's blaming you. I froze. Her words didn't sink in at first. I kept hearing the phrase, blaming you, echo in my mind. Blaming me? For what? For her actions? For tearing apart the bond we once had? But her mother was insistent. You have to come. Please. She needs you. I don't know what drove me to do it, but I rushed to the hospital. I didn't know if I should scream, cry, or just walk away. Kendra was lying there, her face pale, eyes swollen. The room felt cold. Too cold. I stood by her bedside, unsure of what to say. You're blaming me? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. You're blaming me for this? She turned her head slowly and looked at me with tear-filled eyes. I didn't know who else to blame. You were everything to me, and I ruined it. I don't know why I did it, but you left me. I lost both of you. I didn't know how to handle it. You never understood. The words broke my heart all over again. But at the same time, I was furious. She had betrayed me in the worst way possible, and now she was playing the victim? I took a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. Kendra, you didn't lose me. You threw me away. You threw away everything we built together for a fleeting moment with a man who was never worth it. I took a gulp and pushed back in my seat. So this is about you. Her eyes glistened with tears, and for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I didn't know what to say to her anymore. There was nothing left to say. She had made her choices. And now I had to make mine. The next few weeks were a blur of hospital visits and family gatherings, but nothing ever felt the same. Kendra was recovering, but the damage to our friendship was irreversible. She had tried to take her life, but I couldn't be the one to carry that burden. Not anymore. And yet, people in our circle started turning on me. The whispers, the accusations. I was the villain in a story I hadn't written. "How could you abandon her?" they said. "She's your best friend. You should have forgiven her." But none of them knew what it felt like to have your entire world torn apart by the one person you trusted the most. I wrote letters and emails, and I explained why the attack was coming and how it was probably genuine because the person you loved was friends with the congressman, and he wrote letters to the press. None of them knew what it felt like to have your entire world torn apart by the one person you trusted the most. I can't undo what's been done, but I can move forward. I've learned that forgiveness isn't for them, it's for me. But I will never forget the pain, the loss of 16 years of friendship. That's something I have to carry with me. And so here I am, telling my story because I'm done being blamed. The truth is, Kendra made her choice, and while I may never fully understand why, I know that I'm not the one who destroyed our friendship. End of poem, by Mary J. Blackman. If there's anything I've learned through all of this, it's that sometimes people are not who you think they are, and you can't let their mistakes become your burden. As for me, I'm healing. Slowly, one day at a time. And I'm learning to trust again, even if it takes a while. But I'll never forget Kendra. I just hope she learns to forgive herself, because that's the only way she can truly heal.